December 7, 1941, a peaceful Sunday morning in the middle of the Pacific, was about to become one of the most shocking moments in modern history. At dawn, Pearl Harbor was quiet. The American Pacific Fleet rested at anchor. Thousands of sailors were beginning their daily routines, unaware that hundreds of Japanese aircraft were already approaching the Hawaiian Islands. Within minutes, the sky above the harbor filled with the sound of aircraft engines. The attack had begun. The main targets were 8 American battleships, the pride of the United States Navy and symbols of American naval power. These ships represented strength, technology, and national confidence. But in less than 2 hours, they would become symbols of destruction and sacrifice. Some would return to battle and fight until the end of World War I. Some would become monuments, and some would disappear forever beneath the waves. This is the story of what happened to all 8 battleships from Pearl Harbor, and where they are today. USS Arizona, the ship that became a memorial. The most famous name from Pearl Harbor is USS Arizona. At the beginning of the attack, Arizona was anchored along Battleship Row, surrounded by other American battleships. At 8:06 in the morning, a Japanese armor-piercing bomb struck the ship. The bomb penetrated the deck and reached the forward ammunition magazines. Seconds later, a massive explosion ripped through the battleship. A fireball rose into the sky. Smoke covered the harbor. The explosion was so powerful that it destroyed much of the ship instantly. On that day, 1,177 sailors and Marines aboard USS Arizona lost their lives. It was the greatest single loss of life on any American warship in history. Unlike many other damaged ships, Arizona was never raised from the harbor. The damage was too severe, and the ship became the final resting place for hundreds of sailors. Today, the remains of USS Arizona still lie beneath the waters of Pearl Harbor. Above the wreck stands the USS Arizona Memorial, visited by millions of people from around the world. The ship is no longer a weapon of war. It is a place of remembrance. Even today, small drops of oil occasionally rise from the wreckage. Many visitors call them the Tears of Arizona, a reminder of the lives lost on that terrible morning. USS Oklahoma, the battleship that never came home. The second great tragedy of Pearl Harbor was USS Oklahoma. Unlike Arizona, Oklahoma was not destroyed by a single massive explosion. Instead, it was hit repeatedly by Japanese torpedoes. The attacks came quickly. Water flooded the ship. The battleship began to roll. Within minutes, Oklahoma capsized completely, leaving hundreds of sailors trapped inside. A total of 429 men were killed. After the attack, American engineers faced an enormous challenge. They decided to raise the overturned battleship, using cables, cranes, and months of careful work. Salvage crews slowly brought Oklahoma back to the surface. It was one of the most difficult naval recovery operations ever attempted. However, the damage was too great. The Navy decided that rebuilding the ship would cost more than the battleship was worth. After the war, Oklahoma was sold for scrap. But the story did not end there. While being towed across the Pacific Ocean in 1947, the old battleship encountered problems. The towing lines broke. USS Oklahoma disappeared beneath the waves for the final time. Today, its exact resting place remains unknown somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. USS West Virginia, from the bottom back. To battle, USS West Virginia suffered one of the heaviest attacks during Pearl Harbor. The battleship was struck by multiple torpedoes and bombs. Water quickly entered the ship, and West Virginia settled onto the harbor floor. But unlike Arizona, the ship survived. American engineers refused to abandon her. After months of repairs and modernization, West Virginia returned to active service. The battleship became one of the ships that helped the United States fight back across the Pacific. In 1944, West Virginia played a major role in the Battle of Surigao Strait. That battle became famous as the last major battleship engagement in history. The ship fired its massive guns against the Japanese fleet, helping secure one of America's greatest naval victories. After World War I ended, West Virginia was retired. The once famous battleship was eventually dismantled in 1959. Today, no large remains of the ship exist, but its legacy lives on as one of the ships that survived Pearl Harbor and returned to fight. USS California, the battleship reborn USS California, was another victim of the attack. The ship was struck by torpedoes and bombs, causing serious flooding. Slowly, the battleship sank into the shallow waters of Pearl Harbor. For a time, it appeared that California might be lost forever. But American workers began a massive recovery effort. The ship was raised, repaired, and completely modernized. New equipment was installed, armor was improved, anti-aircraft weapons were upgraded. The battleship that had been damaged in the first minutes of the war was transformed into a stronger fighting machine. USS California returned to combat and supported American operations across the Pacific. It participated in major battles and helped American forces move closer to victory. After the war, California was retired. Like many battleships of its generation, it was eventually sold for scrap. Today, the ship no longer exists. Only photographs and historical records remain. USS Nevada, the battleship that escaped among all 8 battleships. USS Nevada had one of the most dramatic stories. During the attack, Nevada became the only battleship from Battleship Row that managed to get underway. As bombs and torpedoes struck around the harbor, the crew attempted to move the ship to safety. The Japanese attackers immediately recognized Nevada as a threat. They focused their attacks on the moving battleship. Badly damaged and taking on water, Nevada's crew made a difficult decision. To prevent the ship from blocking the harbor entrance, they intentionally grounded her. The battleship survived. After repairs, Nevada returned to combat. She fought in some of the most important operations of World War I. The ship supported the invasion of Normandy in Europe, and later helped American forces capture islands in the Pacific. After the war, Nevada faced one final challenge. She was used during atomic bomb testing at Bikini Atoll. The ship survived the nuclear explosions but suffered severe contamination. In 1948, USS Nevada was finally sunk as a target. Today, the famous battleship rests on the ocean floor. USS Tennessee, USS Maryland, and USS Pennsylvania, the remaining 3 battleships, also survived Pearl Harbor. USS Tennessee was damaged by bombs and fire but returned to service after repairs. The ship fought throughout the Pacific War before being retired after victory. USS Maryland was one of the luckiest battleships during the attack. Protected by its position, it avoided catastrophic damage. After repairs, Maryland became an active participant in the Pacific Campaign. USS Pennsylvania, the flagship of the Pacific Fleet, was located inside a dry dock during the attack. Although damaged, it avoided the destruction suffered by many other ships. After World War I, Pennsylvania was also used in atomic testing before being removed from service. Like many battleships of the era, she eventually disappeared into history. The final fate of the 8 battleships. So where are the 8 battleships from Pearl Harbor today? USS Arizona remains at Pearl Harbor as a memorial. USS Oklahoma rests somewhere beneath the Pacific Ocean. USS Nevada lies on the seafloor after being used as a target. USS Pennsylvania was sunk after atomic testing. USS West Virginia, California, Tennessee, and Maryland were all scrapped after their long service. These 8 battleships followed very different paths. Some became symbols of sacrifice. Some became symbols of survival. Some became forgotten pieces of steel beneath the ocean. But together, they represent one of the most important moments in naval history. The attack on Pearl Harbor was not only the destruction of ships, it was the beginning of a global conflict that changed the world forever. And today, more than 80 years later, the stories of these battleships continue to remind us of the cost of war and the courage of the people who served aboard them.